Generative AI is everywhere, right? It's changing everything. But that massive power brings up a huge question. How on earth do we govern it? Well, today we're diving into how Malaysia is tackling that very challenge. We're going to unpack a potential blueprint for regulating this whole new frontier.
Yeah, this is really the million-dollar question, isn't it? If an AI system messes up, and I mean really messes up, in a costly, dangerous, or even defamatory way, who's on the hook? Who pays the price? The person who used it? The folks who coded it? Or the company that rolled it out?
And that right there is the problem. In Malaysia, for generative AI, the answer, well, it just isn't clear. We're in this massive legal gray area. And look, this isn't some abstract puzzle for lawyers to solve. This uncertainty has real, tangible consequences for anyone and everyone who touches this technology. So, why the uncertainty? Well, it all comes down to what experts are calling the AI governance gap. And that's just a fancy way of saying our current rules, they're just not up to the job. I love this analogy because it hits the nail on the head. It's like we're trying to apply horse and buggy traffic laws to a Formula One race. It just doesn't work. Our legal toolkit was built for a different era, and it just can't keep up with tech that moves this incredibly fast. Okay, so let's get specific. We're talking about a legislative gap. What does that mean? It means existing laws in Malaysia, think things like the copyright law or the civil code, were all written with humans in mind. They were designed for human actions, human creations. They just don't have the words or the framework to deal with the really unique problems AI throws at us, like who owns something an AI creates, or who's to blame when AI spreads misinformation. Okay, let's bring this down to earth with a scary but very real example. Imagine an AI healthcare chatbot gives a patient dangerously wrong medical advice, something that leads to a tragic outcome. Who do you sue? Seriously, who is legally at fault here? This isn't some sci-fi scenario anymore. This is exactly the kind of thing regulators are losing sleep over right now. And here's the fundamental roadblock. The challenge is that an AI isn't a legal entity. You literally can't sue a piece of code. It doesn't have rights, it can't own property, so you can't hold it accountable in a court. Which of course bounces the question right back to the humans who made it and are using it. So, if the old laws are broken, what do we do? Where do we go from here? Well, the answer seems to be starting fresh. We need to build a whole new legal foundation from the ground up, one that's designed specifically for the age of AI. And you can see the difference right here. On one hand, you have our current laws, which are super general and leave the whole question of liability totally up in the air. But the proposed idea is to move to a framework that is AI specific, one that clearly spells out who is responsible for what, the developers, the people operating it, and even the folks using it. It's all about trading that confusion for some much needed clarity. Now, the good news is Malaysia doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. We can look at what other global leaders are doing. A huge example is the European Union's AI Act. It's a real landmark piece of legislation. What's so smart about it is its risk-based approach. Basically, the higher the risk of the AI, we're talking about things like AI used in hiring or for medical diagnoses, the tougher the rules get. It's a really solid model for finding that sweet spot between letting innovation fly and making sure there's proper oversight. Okay, so new laws are a great start, but they're only one piece of the puzzle, right? To really make AI a positive force, we have to go beyond just stopping bad things from happening. We need to actively build public trust. And let's be crystal clear about what we're up against. The risks are very real. You've got AI hallucinations, which is just a fancy term for when the AI flat out makes stuff up. You have malicious actors who can misuse these tools for all sorts of nasty things. Not to mention huge data privacy violations and deeply embedded biases that can screw up everything from who gets a loan to who gets a job interview. These aren't just little glitches, they are major societal dangers. So what's the game plan to fight back against this? The proposal is a pretty straightforward three-step safeguard system. Step 1, you've got to be constantly evaluating the AI models, always looking for problems. Step 2, robustly monitor the stuff they're putting out there. And step 3, have a clear plan for what to do. When, not if, but when things go wrong. This is all about being proactive, not just cleaning up messes after they happen. And this really gets to the core of that trust issue. There's this great quote from an expert, Chang, who says public skepticism towards AI-generated journalism points to transparency failures as a key factor driving the trust deficit. I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? If you don't know how something works, of course you're going to be skeptical. That black box problem is a massive hurdle. So what's the solution? It's pretty simple, really. Mandate transparency. We need rules that force companies to open up about their training data. Where did it come from? What's in it? How good is the quality? This is what lets regulators and us, the public, pop the hood and actually see what's going on and understand where biases or errors might be coming from.
All right, this brings us to the last and maybe the most important piece of this whole blueprint, and it's this. No single group can solve this problem on their own. This has to be a massive team effort. If you want governance that actually works, you need everyone chipping in. You need the government to set the rules. You need academia to do the deep research. You need the industry and the developers who are actually building this stuff to bring their technical know-how. And so critically, you need civil society to make sure the public's voice, our voice, is actually heard. Everybody has to have a seat at the table.
Because at the end of the day, the goal is what we call inclusive governance. It's about building systems that don't just broadcast rules, but actually listen to feedback from all kinds of people, especially from groups who might be marginalized or hurt by this technology. That's the only way we're going to get policies that are truly fair, accountable, and that will work in the real world, not just on paper.
Okay, so let's tie all of this together. What does this blueprint for Malaysia's AI future actually look like? It boils down to 4 key pillars. 1. Create AI-specific legal frameworks. Get the laws right. 2. Institute real ethical safeguards to stop harm before it happens. 3. Demand transparency and accountability. Make them non-negotiable. And 4. Foster that multi-stakeholder collaboration. Get everyone in the room.
And look, this is way bigger than just dodging a few bullets. It's about being strategic. The path forward has to be, and I'm quoting here, comprehensive and forward-looking, tailored to the nation's digital ecosystem and developmental goals. In other words, this can't be a generic one-size-fits-all plan. It has to be built for Malaysia.
So that leaves us with one big question to chew on. Can a clear blueprint like this actually turn all of AI's risks into massive national rewards? We know generative AI has its dangers, that's undeniable. But what if, with the right rules, the right safeguards, and all the right people working together, Malaysia can flip the script? The blueprint is there. The real challenge is actually building it.